be pretty close. This top here. Okay.
Redline routing is still frustrating to me. It's not a better answer necessarily, but I don't like how it drapes right in front of the burner. You know?
Yes, I noticed that on the video the other day, particularly when inflating.
Yeah. Or one thing I noticed is when we were landing, it was happening because you had a little bit of tension on the red line, which is good, right? And then you're doing those last puffs, and it's like, man, it's just draped
right there. All right.
Turn this go for one.
No. Power's on the side on this one?
Yeah, power's on the side.
Oh, that side.
That's on.
Okay, sweet.
I got a red light.
Yep.
Okay, I'm in.
Sweet.
Starting this early.
Okay. So just a refresher course in case you forgot. I know it's been a minute. But Black Lions will not be driving those. Don't be driving any of these ropes. None of the Black Lions. You can hold on to the uprights. And you can hold on to the tanks. There are handles here. When we come in for a landing, we'll have you go ahead and put one hand on here. You can either put one hand there. You can keep your knees bent. Depending on which way you come in, there are some options. You can, feel comfortable, you can hold on to this. Just make sure you hold on to two things. Okay? Any medical conditions that I should know about today?
Hey,
Nope,
Bill,
I'm in good shape.
did you drop in the turn the fan down?
Turn the fan down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yes, and as we're in the air, if you see any power lines or trees or anything, most likely I see them, but more eyes are better.
Okay.
So feel free to let me know if you see something coming up, rooftops or trees, power lines, something like that. Get this aircraft radio turned on here.
Not a very long top flying he's got there.
All right.
Hey, Travis, is that top line long enough? It looks like he's going to be airborne when it stands up.
We'll come over here.
Nice job.
Good job, sir, as always. Thank you.
Okay.
Jet traffic.
Yes, thank you. We're good. So if I get you to go out there, just let me know if I've got any traffic above me. If I do, point it out. Good. Sweet.
Snuck into the air while we were.
Right.
Yeah, it is Skip.
Appreciate all your hard work, man. Now when you're having fun, it's not like that, right? I'm gonna get us pretty warm so that we can go up and clear
Okay.
this balloon.
Came out to inflate the auction balloon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get it out and see what it looks like.
That'd be fun. Maybe it's in great shape.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Push it that way.
Thank you. All right.
So I was thinking about if you can do it, what would you think about trying to follow the pieball and go down here for, 15 minutes or
Yeah.
so and then hop up and see if we can get
try
back?
it. Yep. I came up really fast, like I said. I just wanted to make sure we didn't get pushed into.
I think that makes sense. And clearly there's no one above us that we got to worry about.
Right.
Yeah, I have launched usually at events, where you're pushing fabric.
Yeah, it makes for good pictures, but. Springs Tower, this is hot air balloon November 74008.
Hot air balloon 74008, ready, sir.
All right, the first of 4 balloons launching out of the field just west of you. Our colors are orange and yellow today.
Hot air balloon 74008, Roger, thanks for the heads up. Wind 040 at altimeter 3011.
November 74008, copy that, thank you.
I think maybe the layer going south is really thin. What do you
Very
think?
thin, yeah. Layer going down is coming up on us.
expect this early.
No, no.
Skip was telling me at the Christmas party that I don't exactly know the details, but he bought a balloon works at some auction for super cheap. It was one of those like storage wars kind of things.
Right.
And so that's what he's got out with him today. He says, well, let's
Inflate
put
it.
some air in it and
Right.
see what it looks like. His anticipation is that it's nowhere near airworthy,
Right.
but he wanted to see whether he can make it airworthy or whether it's just a rag. So do you have all of our required documentation on board?
We have manual, airworthiness certificate. I have a driver's license, pilot license, manual, airworthiness certificate, pilot's license, driver's license. I'm missing one, at least my list anyway.
Yep. Registration.
Registration.
And the airworthiness certificate is the only part of that that has to be conspicuously displayed.
Right.
Which I'm learning they're not teaching air crew that anymore. I got on the airplane when I was going to Mexico, and most of the time it's right as you go in the door, it's right above your head.
Yep.
And so I just turn around and glance at it,
Right.
you know.
Told me that. He told me one story anywhere where they didn't have it, and
Yeah. They didn't know what it was. I mean, it's super unlikely that they're going to fly an airplane without it, but still, I find the actual piece of paper comforting for some reason. That was routed in through sitting here and laying like that. Would that be better? Okay, so this is a sort of a common approach to a landing or a target where we know the layer is really thin that's going to get us there. And in fact, the light pole might be taller than this wind layer.
Yeah.
So then the idea is you want to go and stay sort of in the layer, but as high in the layer as you can from a safety perspective. Sometimes you get a turn and then you don't have to worry about it at all. But then what you want to do is you want to bump above the light pole and come back down so that your momentum carries it over before you pick up that next layer. You'll also see folks in competition that what they'll do is they'll approach like this and then they'll lay on the burners to give it plenty of room, and then as soon as they're clear they'll vent back into it. doing some heavy duty work. Market. Painters? Street painters or something? So tell me a little bit about your flight plan here.
Well, I was going to see if we can find that bit of a box. Moment I was getting up a little bit just to make sure I cleared these things.
Yep.
But I was going to see how far we could ride this quote-unquote drainage here. You know, this is a good direction even if we just stayed at this altitude. Which I don't anticipate doing, but if we were to, or if the winds were to keep going this way, there is some spots down there toward that water tower. But I do anticipate there being some directional changes, almost a 180 change up higher, as we definitely saw when we first took off. It wasn't that high before we were starting to go north. So so my thoughts were, like I said, or ride this, you know, maybe 10-15 minutes more, something like that. Hop up and see if we can't find that 160-ish. Although I feel like we've lost a little bit of left we had there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought that originally we were kind of going that
Yeah.
way, and the piebald went that way,
Yeah.
and now we're going
Yeah. So
more south.
I don't want to get too far to the right.
Yeah, I agree.
So what's Corey doing here? Corey's still following us. I feel like he might have a little more left to do.
Yeah, I think so.
So maybe hop up just a little bit here and see if we can't get any of that left.
It's so cloudy, it doesn't even feel like the sun's up yet, does it?
Yeah, and the pressure's just supposed to be dropping
Oh,
for
really?
the rest of the day, so it's just supposed to get cloudier and higher.
I didn't really look at the weather beyond this morning. What's going to develop?
I mean, like, the pressure's dropping as we speak
Yeah.
down, and by 10 o'clock it should be really pretty much straight overcast. I mean, it's close to that now,
Yeah.
but there are on the horizon there. There's a white spot in the cloud there.
It's either aliens or the sun, one of the two.
Probably aliens.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
that's
it's
more
aliens,
likely.
but probably.
Did you hear about the radio signal repeating itself every 16 days?
Epstein didn't kill himself joke or something?
No. You would think. No, there's a genuine thing. a radio signal that we're picking up.
Yeah.
That's repeating, and it's got a pretty distinctive repeat, and it's about every 16 days. 16 days and 5 hours or something.
Interesting. Some sort of pulsar, or
It's probably pulsar, and
I mean, I saw the movie Contact, so
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Maybe we'll start building the spaceship thing here soon.
and I remember I read an article about it because I'm like, oh, that's kind of intriguing, and the writer made it clear that we don't really know what this is yet, but it's really unlikely that it's aliens.
Right.
But thanks for playing.
But it might be.
Because we know that 90% of you reading this article, that's what you're hoping.
Yeah.
Channel mode.
Tequila Sunrise to Tequila Chasers, copy?
Go ahead.
Good morning, puppy.
Just a radio check, glad you hear me.
Read you loud and clear.
Definitely slowed down, even just up a little bit. And we're getting further away from Corey, so he's either stopped or heading back. He's still above us a little bit, so
What would you think about trying a landing in this park?
I was just thinking that actually. I was thinking that before we even got here, I was thinking I wanted to practice some landings, but and then I was looking at this park and looking at our trajectory here, and I thought, well, why not?
Okay, so tell me sort of how you're mapping the park in your mind. What are you thinking?
Well, I was looking at how actually thin. We're so much on the right side of it here, but I just have the obstacles of the trees and things. If I could get just past those trees and start to come down faster anyway, and get it down as close to the other side of that sidewalk. Obviously there's somebody walking their dog there. I feel like even as we're going down, we're getting a tiny bit of left.
Okay.
Very, very slight, but it's opening up the field a little bit for us there. Actually, let it cool for a second here. Since we're not going to hit that tree, I can get down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and secure yourself a little bit there. Drop a bit of an overburn. Of course, now we're getting blown into this tree, of course.
saw, right?
Yeah, and we're quickly running out of space. So I am suddenly not comfortable with it.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, maybe I could have popped it right down there, but there's no reason to risk.
I think that's right. And I think if this
Had
was
to.
the end of the day out of fuel, you just
Right,
dump it right
yeah,
there,
right.
full. Because what you'll find is from that altitude, if you just opened the vent and
Yeah,
dumped it,
yeah.
you'd hit the ground about 300. And it'd be one of those things if you just tell people, okay guys, bend your knees and hang on,
Right.
and you just thunk it one time,
Right,
and
right.
you'd be done. Especially if you were to keep the vent open, you'd actually just curve right behind that tree and then it would lay right down. So very nice approach. All right, so should we see if we can start tracking our north here?
Yes, I agree. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've been thinking all week that I need to get about 100 more landings in. But yeah, any southerly is pretty slow. Obviously, you know, it was a little faster on the deck there, but keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and pop up, and
Okay.
maybe we'll go land at Memorial Park or something.
I think that when we look at landings, I think that first of all, 90% of the landing is the approach.
Yes.
You know, the actual touching the ground part is relatively
Inevitable.
straightforward.
Right.
What I find is when people are doing the actual touching the ground part of the landing, the biggest mistake that I see people make is not enough vent. Because as soon as you touch the ground, you relieve the system of its weight, and so then you
Right.
do this sort of bounce and
Yes,
skip.
That
and
makes sense. I didn't even think about that. With the weight relieved, the lift is there stronger. I mean, obviously, it's gonna have to pull against the weight eventually, but certainly that causes the envelope to bounce,
Right.
as it were.
And if you think of it like a physics problem, let's imagine that you touch the ground and the envelope comes down because
Sure,
you've got momentum.
sure.
Then the cables go slack, right?
Right.
And then, but now you've still got enough heat in it. When the envelope comes back up and pulls those cables tight, it may not be cold enough or warm enough to lift you.
Right.
But you've got enough momentum.
Right.
And we think, you know, based on fairly basic math, that there's about 8,000 pounds of mass in the envelope, and probably somewhere on the order of, you know, less than 1,000 down here.
Right.
So even if there's not enough heat or lift, it'll still bounce
Sure.
and yank you back up off the ground. And then,
Right.
of course,
Right.
then the weight kicks in and you lose the momentum. And
Sure.
And that's usually what makes the second hit so much worse.
Right. We'll climb up a little bit and see what we're getting.
It's interesting that layer was kind of taking us to the east. That'll be, of
Nice.
course, by the time we get there, it might not be there anymore.
Right.
But it'll be good to remember. Because Corey's got quite a bit of west from the launch site. We'll do our best to hit the launch site. See how we do, right? Chris and Don seem to have fun on their long jump.
They did. Yeah. 76 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That's 1,600 or 16,000.
Yeah. They said they experienced a pretty significant shear on the way up. Construction's coming along.
Yeah, they don't mess around, those guys.
I did some poking around on the county assessor's website.
Mm-hmm.
There is one plot of land that is between the Fresh Dirt and Milton Proby
Yeah.
that is unnamed. There's no data on it at all. But what's the nice thing that I was really looking for is on the east side of the Fresh Dirt and the existing Amazon building, all the way out to the paved road is still owned by the city.
Okay.
And so in that sense, they've consumed this space. They're going to feel like maybe they own the whole thing or that they own the roads going in. But it appears to be the rest of that dirt's still owned by the city. And I believe the road, the paved road and the road coming in the north end of the field and the road going through the middle are still city roads.
Just playing and see what little bit of east there. I mean, if there's some east, I'll take it while I can get it. That's kind of my thinking. But now we're heading south again. But it is southeast a little, so just barely. Because we were more lined up with the hotel, and now we're definitely slowly getting towards.
Well, and even we were over there by that tree, so we've gained
yeah.
100 yards. You know?
Yeah, box lap field.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that you're having trouble with the Suburban. That's a hassle.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just old truck thing.
Yeah, I can relate.
But it's you know, it's just a matter of tuning, maybe some more sensors. Carburetor stuff. Oh, that's your Ross flag. Right here on the screen.
Oh yeah. I feel like it's hanging backwards. Here looks like it could use a little help.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if anybody's living in it in that state.
Just thinking the same thing.
Where's the ones on both sides? They look good. puppy.
Corey's definitely going west up there. Good morning. Thanks for having us.
That's a nice greeting.
Yeah.
I always worry when we got these low tracks, you know.
I don't think we're gonna get really much more east out of it, so.
It feels like we're going more due south, doesn't it? Well, you want to track back?
Yep.
And I felt like Corey was sort of going this direction at the mid layer, and then as he's
Right.
gone higher and higher, he's gone
Right.
west, which there was, in the ruck forecast, there was a 290 up there, but it was high. It was like 8,500 or something. So, unless he keeps working it, he won't get that. Well, I bet he's over about maybe Academy-ish. Skip's starting to stand up. Fine. Kind of a weird maneuver.
It was taking Joe.
You also see this strip of land between the graded dirt and Powers. That's sort of what's still regular grass.
Yeah.
It looked like on the county assessor site that little strip of land was not part of the purchase.
Well, don't listen. Interesting.
Yeah.
Room for sidewalks?
Yeah, maybe it could just be a city easement. It's a good point.
In between the third one.
I don't know how thick it is, of course, really, because
Right.
they could have just put that graded dirt right on top of someone else's property. But I wondered if it might have been a little strip designed to be like a commercial strip mall, you know.
Oh, right.
I don't know if it was that big or not.
Definitely going east again. I'll hold this altitude for just a minute here. So, last week, was it last week? Yes, last week, Travis got some burner time on.
Oh, really?
Corey's balloon.
Nice. Did he enjoy it?
Oh yeah. Launching, he launched.
Oh, good.
And then flew it around a little bit. Some level flight practice. It's funny because he said, "Oh, that level flight's a lot easier than I thought." And I was like, "Yeah, okay. Give it more than 30 seconds of level flight." Come back and talk to me about how easy level flight is.
It doesn't seem like it ought to be that hard, right? I mean,
yes,
you know, in the airplane land, you sort of trim it out and you're good.
yes, yes.
That's actually one of the things I like most about ballooning is that the in a hot air balloon especially, it never trims out.
Right.
It's always heavy. It's,
Yeah.
you know, you always got to
Yeah.
be paying attention.
Yeah.
When I was learning to fly an airplane, I enjoyed the takeoffs and landings and the navigation. But then it felt like the sort of the flying part was relatively uninteresting.
Right.
I think when you're flying an airplane, a lot of it has got to be the destination, you know.
Sure. I mean, obviously a different world, but this is why I like aerobatics,
Yeah.
right? Because then there's actually fun. In
Right. Then there's
between.
sport in every
Right,
movement.
right.
Yeah. Okay, Corey's decided to drop down. I think he's about Academy.
He's got to be further than that because there's those high rises right there.
That's that hotel.
right, and I feel like he's past that.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully he'll drop right down to the deck and show us. I find my depth perception in that kind of a altitude versus low, I can't quite calculate the triangle very well.
I just feel like he's quite a bit past the,
Do you?
at least those buildings there.
We're finally going north a little bit. That's
Not quite as clear in the back bag. This, I mean.
yeah. Yeah, it probably has poorer reception and we're covering the speaker. And yeah, he was just cleared for 3-5 left, I think, so he'll probably go right around us and right in, I guess. Okay, so where do you think Corey is? I think I see him. Sort of looks like a black shadow.
Now he's a lot closer, I feel like, to the buildings. Yeah, I felt like he was. I mean, you know, we were just talking about the difficulty of judging that, but I feel like he's closer. Of course, down on the deck, it's blowing back this way, so.
Maybe, yeah. So at this stage, I would go ahead and climb up and take your trajectory back to the field.
Okay.
We think that we'll be left of it, right?
Right.
However, if we go too far over here, we don't have a lot of wind to recover with. So let's get over there and get a sense of our line, and if we have to slip over at the last minute, we
Okay.
could. Does that make sense? Because you kind of want to think about if this wind holds, and of course everything is so slow, it's hard to predict, but if it held and we went over and let's say we were to the right of Joe,
Yeah.
then as we came down we would slip it even more right, and if it turned around then we would sort of be stuck over the new storage area.
Right.
This maneuver that we're trying to execute is actually fairly difficult. We're driving to a designated target rather than just flying and picking available
Sure.
landings.
Let me see this.
And anytime you pick a fixed target, it's difficult. But the other challenge is all the layers of wind are really slow and unpredictable, and they're sort of going every direction, so it's hard to predict. See, we've gone up a little bit and we're still going this way. I thought Skip was gonna keep it inflated a while, but it looks like I felt like he sort of stood halfway up and then laid it down. I wonder if something.
Saw something.
Yeah, they discovered something. I don't think he was gonna fly today anyway.
Right.
I don't think it's in annual. Okay, I'm just now starting to feel the turn. What about you? Way right now. So in theory, as you climb, we'll keep getting more and more left, right? Yeah, I feel like we're turning more left. So now your challenge is if you got a really high left and we think a low right, to sort of, and the visualization that I use is sort of corkscrew your way in.
Right.
And so, you know, you go up and left and down and right and up and left. And that way you don't get too far hung out on one side.
Right.
And then if the wind changes, you still might not make the field, but you're not a mile off of it.
Right.
You're just,
Right.
you know.
Makes sense.
So like, I feel like we're going right now just a little bit to the left, but it's hard to perceive. Another airplane.
I think it's the same one. He touched down and took back off. There goes Joe.
Yep.
That's definitely a rock to say hi.
Yep. Can't tell the way Joe's going, but it looks like he might be going that direction, the northeast. So Chris had something interesting that shouldn't be that revelatory, but it was. He had a little Ziploc bag of cotton balls.
Okay.
And he uses that and he drops it. He says they're just heavy enough that they, you know, and they're big, right? So they're a little bit more visible.
Right. Then spit.
Right. I don't see Corey anymore.
I mean, probably picked his first landing and took that over there in that direction.
Okay, so now I feel like we're getting that direction. So now you want to do that sort of drop down a little bit and get your, start to get that corkscrew action started.
See how much water we're getting in the lake over there?
Oh wow, that's pretty exciting.
It's it actually, with this latest snow, filled over the area that they kind of had cordoned off that they're digging in.
Okay, yeah.
And it leaked in.
And but because they're continuing to do that dirt
They're
work.
doing something dirt work there, and
Interesting.
there hadn't been any water in there. But with this last round of snow, I noticed it was enough to it had
Spilled over.
spilled over into that
Interesting.
area.
So sort of that corkscrew mentality is one of the reasons why competitors use racers so much, because you know you can get that feel of, oh, I'm too far left, let me get a little right, and they, so in a big balloon you're just taking sort of big
Right.
corkscrews.
Sure.
In a little racer you really can dial in on it, and that's how they're getting distances that are, you know, they're disappointed with 1 meter kind of thing.
Right.
They're just living and breathing right at that boundary layer. I had kind of expected to see Tommy out with you this morning.
Yeah. No bad reasons, but just a list of reasons. It was just easier to. Come out by myself today. One was that we had the truck.
Yeah.
And it's it doesn't hold as many people.
Right.
And
At least not in the winter.
right. And 5-year-olds are a lot louder in small spaces.
Tell if there's a really thin layer that takes us right to the field, or if there's just one here and one here, and it's just the transition that feels so sort of exciting. It's like, ooh, we got it.
Yeah,
Oh, nope.
I'm trying hard, man.
I don't think it's there, actually. I think we're having to do the zigzag approach. I don't think there is a layer going, because we've gone through the boundary and we're not blowing through it.
Right,
We're just
right.
easing through it, and it's just for a second that it feels like it, but I don't think we're gonna. I don't think there is. Should I say that now? Going straight towards it. That's the way it looks, at least. So tell me your plan to get in the field.
Well, I was going to keep working like we're doing, but I think on my next up pass here, I feel like we should, I don't know, I feel like we should be going past it a little further, or at least riding this downside a little further. Because there's definitely an east once we get down to a certain layer.
There is, and so I was kind of thinking that if we rode this high level up over the hotel
Yeah.
and then maybe down and
Right.
in, I don't know.
That's what I was thinking as well, as far as trying to ride this just a little bit further.
Yeah.
But we're still doing well on fuel, so fuel's starting to come off the peg.
This one's empty.
Pretty much. Plus, I feel like as we go down, we lose our north as well.
Yeah, I feel like we're going this direction now, and the ground wind is almost going that direction. So
Right.
can we get far enough left to get that swoop in there? I don't know.
Traffic in sight. Sees us.
I mean, I generally assume they see us, but it's always nice when they say
Yes, yes. Yeah, I twist those around a little. Mostly when I go to plug them in at night,
Mm-hmm.
I have to twist it
Or to get the
to get
cord,
that
yeah.
just long enough. Yeah.
Going that direction. Now it's curving that direction. Ended up going that
No more south though.
Didn't look like it. Like I say, it started out the direction we're going. It slowly turned to the right, kept going to the northish, and then right at the bottom it turned to the northeast. So in a competitive environment, this is the time that you wish there were other balloons on the field that could tell you, oh, he missed right, he missed left, whatever, right? You can triangulate that way. And also, a real competition team would have their crew out there with some sort of a windsock flag, anemometer, would kind of be walking you in, you know. And the nice thing about having a crew is that if they're standing obviously outside the boundaries, but at the X, they can say, oh, the red one is too far to the left, the yellow one's too far to the right,
Right.
and you can.
Sure.
Cap 538, Clipper takeoff, runway 105.
just came off the peg. It's at about 25.
I feel like we lost any west. If we do have any, it's very slow.
Agreed. I think that if you're going to make an approach into the field, you want to descend quickly. Yep. I feel like we're getting this drift here. I don't know. How aggressively do you want to hit your target?
Bringing us up just a bit more. I figured if we were going to miss, you know, I'd rather have this corner here to
Sure.
play with. But I was going up, but I don't feel like we're not getting any west at all. Clearly going back underneath the basket. Strange, that wasn't there a minute ago. This is 7 Echo Romeo, 3304 and 35. Alright, before we do anything crazy here. Although I do have people on this one, but I'm going to go ahead and switch this over.
Okay. Doesn't look like it. Looking at all these fences.
Yeah, you can get in the driveway
Yeah,
right there.
it looks like I don't
open.
Yeah, that's open. That's interesting. It's surprising. I mean, the steam looks like it's going straight up. We're not getting that right turn, but
Right.
I normally think of all this being so closed off that.
Right.
But yeah, that gate's open.
I wanted to get us down here and level us out, just see what we're at. Level-wise, but
I've never talked to these guys. I don't know how they feel about balloons. I mean, to some extent, with all the fences around, they're probably not. They don't like a lot of traffic in their building.
sure.
But with only 11 cars here, I'm guessing we're not going to get a flood of spectators.
Well, looks like we're going to be on the other side of Powers.
You don't want to land right here in the grass?
I mean, I would love to. I just feel like that flagpole there.
Should I stay here or should I try to get in front of you?
About to make that decision up.
Yeah, you don't have to answer. You fly the balloon. Got plenty of room if you want it. You gotta get heavier. There you go. Nice. Smooth road, nice. Nicely done. I'm gonna turn this around a little bit, okay? Yeah, you're doing the right thing, just kind of gently pumping it. Alright, so now you can call Travis and let him know what
Okay, Travis, you can come get us.
We are on our way.
I feel like it's getting breezy all of a sudden.
Yeah,
Breezy, marginal, but
Sure.
in that direction. You want to lay it down while we're standing here?
I think so.
Okay. I'll do this part. Let me know when you're ready.
Alright, let me kill my fire real fast. on.
Corey's still up.
Sure is.
Ready for me to go?
Yes. I mean, we were coming in that way, so you might want to pull that way.